Top 7 Aerith Moments from Final Fantasy VII Remake. Let's get odd. I love Final Fantasy games for many reasons, but two of the top reasons are definitely story and characters. A running theme of a lot of these moments are small character-based moments between Aerith and other characters. Some things that are really small or seemingly insignificant, but for me, they did a lot to push the character into the spotlight. And sometimes a little goes a long way in terms of character development. Definitely let me know what your thoughts on these are, if you agree with some of them or disagree, or let me know what some of your favorite moments from the game were. Before we start, my question is, do you think Aerith is a fan of the band Smash Mouth?
Not the sharpest tool in the shed, is he?
Definitely let me know your thoughts on that. So let's start with number 7. Number 7 for me was the Hell House High Five. I thought the developers did a really good job with Cloud. In the beginning of the game, he's very aloof, very uncaring about others, very about himself and the money and the job. But there's also a socially awkward, kind of funny part to that. And in the collapsed expressway sequence, he doesn't even know how to react when Aerith brings her hands up to give him a high five. And she does it multiple times and he's just so awkward, like he doesn't know what to do with it. Playing through Hell House, especially on hard mode, beating Hell House on hard mode is so satisfying. The developers just provide this really sweet, kind of genuine moment between them where it's this really satisfying high five between the two of them. And I just thought it was a really great moment. So number 6 is when Aerith goes to save Marlene over at 7th Heaven. I just thought it was such a sweet sequence between Aerith and Marlene. We know that Aerith is good with kids because they show that earlier when she was speaking with the kids in Sector 5 over at the Leaf House. And I just thought she was so gentle with Marlene because Marlene has no idea what's going on. She's so scared, she's alone, and all this noise is happening. There's fires around her, there's explosions happening around her, and eventually this stranger comes to approach her. And I just thought Aerith did such a great job of explaining, like, oh, I'm a friend of Tifa's, I know Barrett, and she was so gentle. There's still that mysterious moment that happens between the two of them, and we're still kind of unclear of what that is, but it really was a really nice exchange and a great moment for Aerith. So at number 5, I have Crossing the Rooftops. And the first time I played through this, I just thought it was such a beautiful sequence. It really brought the scene to life from the OG. It's just two people talking. It's two people crossing the rooftops talking, and the music is playing, and it really sets the tone between the relationship for those two characters. There's something just really simplistic and beautiful that I found about that sequence. So at number 4 is the Pack Chocobo moment. So ever since the three of them get dropped down into the sewers, Tifa can't stop thinking about what Don Corneo said about dropping the Sector 7 plate. And she's very worried about it, and Aerith can tell that she's very worried about it. Aerith asks Tifa, what would you do? What would you do next? And Tifa's like, I would go shopping topside. I would buy decorations for the bar. And spoiler alert, if you haven't played through the OG. But I love this scene between Tifa and Aerith, but at the same time it makes me sad every time because Aerith is like, can I go with? Tifa's like, of course. And Aerith is like, then it's a date. And they're laughing, and Tifa says, Cloud can carry our stuff. And Aerith was like, he'll be our Pack Chocobo. I love the scene between the two of them, but at the same time I always think in the back of my mind, they're never gonna go on that date, are they? They're never gonna go shopping topside, are they? It's heartbreaking, but it's a beautiful scene. I mean, who knows what they're gonna do for part 2 and beyond. Maybe they will go shopping topside for decorations, who knows? So at number 3, I have Cloud and Aerith over at Evergreen Park. And for me, it's not really when they're sitting next to each other on top of the playground area, although that's part of it. But for me, what makes the scene is the facial expression that Cloud gives during this one moment where obviously it's late in the night and they've been on this adventure together. You know, they met for a second time after Cloud fell through the roof of the church, and then Cloud fought Reno for her, and then they fought through the Sector 5 slums in the back streets. They fought monsters together. They picked flowers together. They ran all over Sector 5 slums doing all these tasks together. They kind of went on this like mini adventure together for the whole day. I really got to give props to the writers, the developers, the mocap actors, the artists, and the voice actors for this scene. It's the facial expression in Cloud's face at this point where, like, let me ask you this. Have you ever had a friend, like I've never had a friend before, but I'm asking you, have you ever had a friend where, wow, I met this person and I really liked spending time with them, and it's like I don't want this day to end, or I don't want our time together to be over, and he's too prideful and awkward and socially awkward and weird to express that. But you can tell, like, is this it? Like, it's like he wants to ask her for her number, or not even romantically, but just to keep in touch. Like, I don't want this to be over. Like, I want to keep going. And immediately he asks, like, how are you gonna get home? I'll take you home. And there's always this back and forth and push-pull between the two of them in the scene. And in that moment, his facial expression is like, I don't want this to end. I want to see you again. What about tomorrow? What about a week from now? You know? So I really love that moment between the two of them. So at number 2, I imagine most people would have this at their number 1. But I mean, what else more can you say about this scene? This scene is just such a beautiful scene. There's such a build up to it. You know, I was capturing gameplay for chapter 9. And chapter 9 is a really hefty chapter, and you go through all these hoops for this moment. You have to run all over Wall Market talking to the trio, and then you have to go to the Coliseum battles and go through all these rounds and eventually beat the Hell House for this beautiful moment. For this moment, it not only makes me think about chapter 9, but it makes me think of other pieces of media in the Final Fantasy VII lore, compilation, whatever you want to call it. But in particular, it reminded me of a video that I made a while back about picturing the past, written by Kazushige Nojima, and about all the hardship that Aerith has gone through, especially as a child, dealing with Ifalna, her birth mother, and like being forced to draw, being exhausted and emaciated. And it always reminds me of like Aerith needs a break. Like she really needs a night where she can go out and be all glammed up and have a nice dress and stuff. And this moment was that for me. I was like, man, she really deserves this. And then the way Cloud looks at her, like it's just a really beautiful moment. And I love the way the developers built up to that moment, and it culminated in this really nice moment where she's walking down the red carpet and the fireworks are going and the music is playing. And I can really understand why this would be most people's number 1 moment for Aerith. So for me, my number 1, it has to be the initial close-up on her face at the very beginning of the game. Maybe some people would agree with me. Maybe people think like, I mean, it's not even a moment. It's just a close-up of her face. But the first time I played this game, that moment was when it hit me. I was like, this is it. That was the moment where it felt real. Where like, I can't believe after 23 years or however long it's been, this thing is a reality. They actually not only remade probably my favorite game of all time, but they put so much love and time and effort into this project. And then they close up on her face and she opens her eyes. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is real. This is amazing. And as a side note, you know, there's a lot of speculation. Is this a continuation of the ending of the OG FF7? Is this a remake? Is it a sequel? Whatever it ends up happening to be, I mean, I'm all for it. I'm just excited that this thing exists, and I'm happy to be able to experience it. But that moment of her close-up was my number 1 Aerith moment of the game for me. Let me know your thoughts on my list. If you like them or dislike them, agree or disagree. Definitely let me know what some of your favorite moments were in the remake. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and consider subscribing if you like this video and you want to see more Final Fantasy VII Remake content. Stay odd and keep on playing.